good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching, and welcome to day number 3 of 31 days to a better you. Listen, our goal is this next 28, 27 days is to take this month of December and to allow it to become a month where you are literally being developed day after day. I'm reading from my best selling book, 31 Days to a Better You. The hope and the plan is simple. It's to be able to use the principles in this book, to use that as bricks that would literally build your life. So each day is literally a progressional growth towards building a better version of yourself. We have dealt with day one, and day one was unearthing the foundation. We talked about how before we can learn certain things, we must first unlearn. This morning, I had to teach my son how to be able to properly put on his clothes. He had on a regular T-shirt, and then he also had on a a polo, if you may. And I said, "Well, son, if you're gonna have that polo, that button up, you don't want to put on a button up shirt and then put on a t-shirt on top of that." But so in his mind, somewhere in his mind, it made logical sense to put on his button up and then put a t-shirt on top of it. And so he had to unlearn that trait, that behavior, so he can learn something new, something better, something more efficient for him if he ever decides to perhaps take his clothes off or whatever the case may be. And so, day one, we talked about the many things that we have to unlearn as people, as individuals, as business owners, as mothers, as fathers, as parents. There are things in our lives that we have to unlearn before we can learn. And then day two is understanding the blueprint. We talked about how if you are going to be able to utilize wisdom, first you must have knowledge applied. We talked about how if knowledge is not applied, there's no wisdom. All wisdom is simply knowledge applied. And so we talked about those principles of there needs to be a blueprint, a foundation that when applied can yield and produce the most efficient results in our lives. And so this today we're going to be dealing with building the foundation. Building the foundation. And here it is. Here it is. I'm going to read. Let's go. I remember when I was a kid growing up in Nigeria. The best part about the city I grew up in was the trees there. We had so many trees with fruit on them, and after school, my friends and I would sometimes climb up the tree or use a stick to get its fruit. We were always fascinated with how beautiful the trees were and how tasteful the fruits were, but we never admired its roots. The tree was able to withstand us climbing on it, hitting with a stick and plucking away its fruits because it had roots strong enough to withstand that level of pressure. The roots are the foundation of the tree. When the foundation is strong, the tree can withstand pressure. But when the foundation is weak, any amount of pressure can destroy the tree. You see, for us to be effective in our lives, similarly to the tree, we must have a foundation strong enough to hold knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. What is your foundation? I see foundation as laws, principles which guide our lives, keeping us rooted. Do you have laws and principles that guide your life? Do you know that you need laws within yourselves that can help shape a better you? To understand the importance of having laws and principles, we must first understand what a law is. Not the laws of your city, state, or country, but your internal law. You see, law is simply a system of rules that regulates our action. Do you have rules and principles that regulate your actions? Too many times we are fully aware of the things we want to see out of our lives and the choices we may have to make to get there, but we lack foundation in order to build it. Laws and principles are foundation. These are not based on emotions or strength, but rather on rules that are meant to be followed, whether you like it or not. When you do not have rules that you need to follow, you cannot attain knowledge, wisdom, or understanding. How can you create laws in your life? You need to have your own personal do's and don'ts, principles that you live by. These principles should not be based on emotions, but rather on building your foundation. In self discovery, we rarely establish laws in our lives. And when these laws are not applied, we lack a solid foundation to build upon. You need internal laws for you to build, establishing your do's and don'ts that you must follow, regardless of how you feel at any point in time. Now, here is the follow up on the book. It says, laws and principles are foundation. These are not based on emotions or strength, but rather on rules that are meant to be followed. I want to take a pause right here. What are the do's in your life? Do you have some things that no matter the circumstance, you would do? You know, naturally for us, we may say things like, well, I don't really know if I should have principles. I don't know exactly what my do's or my don'ts are. But we all have one. For some of us, your do's, your principles, the laws that govern your life could be pertaining to your self hygiene. For example, you may not know it, but you may have a personal law that every time I wake up in the morning, I'm going to brush my teeth, I'm going to take a shower, I'm going to comb my hair. And it doesn't matter where you are, what city you're in, what country or nation you're in. Every time you wake up, you would brush your teeth. And if you don't have a toothbrush, you would find one. That is a law to you. That is something that is not based on feelings and emotion. If you're having a bad day, you will brush your teeth. If you're having a good day, you will brush your teeth because somewhere in your mind, you've been wired to believe that that is mandatory. What are other decisions, other tasks, other things in your life that you have to make to become a law to you? What are the do's? The do's in your life. It says these are things by your internal law you're required to do. Examples could be reading a book a day, listening before you speak, exercising daily, and so on. Establish laws within your life that you must live by that will help in attaining wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Then the next question is, what are the don'ts in your life? Every great leader must have a do and a don't in your life. There are certain things in your life that no matter the cost, no matter the price, no matter the benefits, you will never do. Every great leader should have that. There should be things in your life that you say, no matter what comes my way, no matter how this thing is presented to me, I will never do this. What are those things? Think about them. For some of us, you may naturally do them without even knowing that you're doing them. The question is, are you aware of these laws that govern your life? Are you aware of the do's and the don'ts of your life? Things that, regardless of your feelings or emotions, you will never do them. Regardless of how you may feel, regardless of what's on your mind, you will never do them. What are the don'ts in your life? It says things your internal law does not permit you to do. We need to establish don'ts in our lives that restrict us from self destructive behavior. When you turn these don'ts into internal law, brick by brick, you build the foundation that can hold knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. I want you to utilize today to create the do's and the don'ts in your life. I want you to utilize this time, this day, as you're listening to this, to write down your do's and your don'ts. What are the do's and the don'ts? What are the laws that govern? Listen, if you are going to be an effective leader, you must be governed by laws. Leaders are not governed by their emotion. Leaders are not governed by circumstance. They're governed by laws. Laws mean no matter what comes my way, this will happen. I will do this. Gravity is a law. It doesn't matter if you're feeling good or bad. If you throw something up, then by law, it should come down. That is a law. And laws are not based on feelings and emotion. And so, for you to be an effective leader, there has to be things that you must say, this is a law to me, no matter the cost. This is what I will, I must, I need to do. Likewise, there should be things in your life that you say, this is a law, that no matter what, regardless of what you pay me, regardless of who walks out of my life, this is what I will not do. What are those laws? Figure out those laws, write down those laws as we walk on this journey and consistently, continually building a better